The land remembers. Long before borders and maps, long before concrete roads or steel cities, the land itself was alive with memory. To the native peoples of North America, the earth was not a resource. It was a relative. The mountains were ancestors. The rivers, veins of the world. The wind carried voices of those who came before, whispering guidance and reminders of balance. To walk the land was to walk through history, through sacred ground shaped by time, spirit, and story. The connection was not one of ownership, but of belonging. They did not possess the land. They were part of it. To many tribes, the land was sacred not only in spirit, but in structure. Every rock, tree, and stream carried meaning. Sacred sites were not chosen for convenience. They were revealed through visions, dreams, or generations of storytelling. The Lakota held the Black Hills as the heart of everything, while the Navajo saw the four sacred mountains as pillars of their world. These weren't arbitrary places. They formed a map of the soul, guiding ceremonies, migrations, and understanding. Geography and spirituality were one, forming an unbroken relationship between the people and their place. Animals, too, were seen not as inferior beings, but as teachers and companions. The bear brought strength, the eagle vision, the coyote wit, and the turtle patience. Each had a role in the natural order and in the spiritual stories that govern life. To hunt an animal was not conquest, but ceremony. A prayer, an offering, a thank you. No part was wasted, and nothing was taken lightly. The relationship between people and animals was one of mutual respect. They lived in a cycle, not a domination, but a shared survival. Even the sky was alive. The stars were more than pinpricks of light. They were stories, maps, and elders. The constellations told tales of love, war, and balance. They warned of seasons and celebrated cycles. By observing the heavens, Native peoples understood planting, migration, and spiritual timing. The sky was not distant or indifferent. It was a dome of wisdom. When night fell over the land, it was not darkness that came, but memory. The sky opened its vault of knowledge, available to those who listened. To sleep beneath the sky was to sleep in the arms of the ancestors. The wind became lullaby, the rustle of leaves a sacred whisper. The land was not a backdrop to history. It was a history, and it remembered. In every canyon echo, every rusted root, every flowing stream, the land held the stories of those who walked gently before. Tonight, let us rest in that remembering. Let the earth's soft breath guide our own. Let sleep come as it once did, beneath stars that still watch kindly over us. Before the Europeans came, the lands of North America thrived with a vibrant mosaic of peoples, languages, and cultures. There were hundreds of distinct native nations, each with its own system of governance, beliefs, technologies, and customs. From the forests of the Northeast to the deserts of the Southwest, from the Great Plains to the Pacific Coast. Every region supported a way of life uniquely attuned to the environment. The Iroquois Confederacy practiced complex diplomacy. The Mississippian people built monumental earthen mounds. The Inuit mastered survival in Arctic extremes. The story of pre-contact America is not one of single people, but of many civilizations woven together by the land. Tribal communities developed in deep relation to their environment, creating sustainable systems to live in balance with nature. The Pacific Northwest tribes relied on cedar and salmon, carving canoes and masts with spiritual precision. In the Southwest, the Hopi and Zuni cultivated corn, beans, and squash in arid land using sophisticated dry farming. Plains tribes followed bison migrations, developing portable homes and spiritual systems centered on the buffalo. In the Southeast, the Creek and Cherokee organized powerful town-based societies. Every culture with a response to place, a living dialogue with soil, water, and sky. Trade networks stretched across the continent, linking distant peoples long before European ships arrived. Obsidian from the west, shells from the coast, and copper from the Great Lakes traveled thousands of miles along river routes and foot trails. Alongside goods moved stories, songs, and ideas. These exchanges weren't merely economic. They were cultural and spiritual, fostering kinship among different tribes. Diplomacy and ceremony often accompanied trade, binding relationships that could last generations. Far from being isolated, Native nations existed in an interconnected world of respectful exchange. Leadership structures varied widely. Some tribes were led by consensus councils, others by hereditary chiefs or spiritual guides. In the Iroquois Confederacy, women held significant power, appointing male leaders and guiding major decisions. Among the Lakota, leadership was earned through wisdom and bravery, not birth. These systems fostered cohesion and care, placing community above individual gain. Governance wasn't just political, it was spiritual, interwoven with ceremony and accountability to both people and the earth. Harmony, not hierarchy, was the guiding principle. This vast and thriving continent was not empty, not wild, not waiting to be discovered. It was already full of life, order, and spirit. Native nations had built intricate worlds rooted in balance and reverence. Their knowledge was encoded not in books, but in landscapes, ceremonies, and stories. As we lie down to rest tonight, we remember that before conquest, there was culture. Before roads, there were paths walked with care. And before history was written, it was spoken in 1,000 native tongues, carried on the wind and grounded in the land. The circle of life is a central teaching in many Native American traditions, representing the sacred interconnectedness of all beings. Everything moves in cycles: birth, growth, death, and rebirth, echoing the seasons, the phases of the moon, the migration of animals, and the flow of rivers. Time is not linear, but circular, a dance of return and renewal. Humans are not above nature, but a part of it. This worldview fosters respect, humility, and responsibility. One's actions ripple outward, affecting not only the tribe, but all living things, seen and unseen. To live well is to honor the balance of the circle. The medicine wheel, found in various forms among plains and woodland tribes, is a visual and spiritual expression of this circular philosophy. Divided into 4 quadrants, it represents the cardinal directions, the elements, the seasons, the stages of life, and even the aspects of the human being: body, mind, spirit, and emotion. Each direction holds a color, an animal guide, and teachings. The east symbolizes birth and inspiration. The south represents youth and growth. The west brings introspection and adulthood. And the north stands for wisdom and elderhood. Walking the wheel is a journey through life, guided by sacred rhythm. Animals play a vital role in this balance. Each species carries wisdom, representing specific traits or life lessons. The bear teaches strength and introspection. The eagle offers clarity and divine vision, and the turtle embodies patience and grounding. These aren't just symbols. They are living teachers, observe and honor for generations. Totems and clan animals form part of personal and communal identity, reminding people their place in the greater web of life. Ceremonies often include songs, masks, and dances that reflect and respect these animal spirits. Harmony also extends to relationships among people. The circle emphasizes equality, where no one stands above another. Council gatherings are often arranged in circles so that all voices are heard. Sharing, not hoarding, is the natural way. Ceremonial circles, healing circles, talking circles, they all reflect the belief that wisdom arises when we face each other openly, without hierarchy. To resolve conflict or make decisions, people enter the circle with humility and a willingness to listen deeply. It's a sacred space of truth and renewal. As you settle into sleep tonight, imagine yourself within this sacred circle. Let its rhythm slow your breath. Let its shape remind you that all things return and nothing is truly lost. You are not alone, but part of a great design, woven with wind, soil, stars, and stories. The night is not an end, but a turning. Let the circle carry you gently into dreams, where ancestors still walk and the earth sings softly in its sleep. Voices in the wind carried the histories, dreams, and laws of native nations from one generation to the next. In the absence of written language, oral tradition became the heartbeat of cultural survival. Elders, storytellers, and spiritual leaders passed knowledge through memory, cadence, and voice. Stories weren't merely entertainment. They were sacred vessels holding the essence of a people. Myths explained the origin of stars or rivers. Parables taught the difference between pride and humility. Lessons wrapped in humor helped children grow into balanced adults. These spoken treasures were shaped by the rhythm of breath, echoing the land's own rhythm. Each story was more than a tale. It was an inheritance. To forget a story was to lose a strand in the web of identity. That's why storytelling followed ceremonial rules. Timing, setting, tone. Winter was often the season of stories, when work slowed and families gathered close. Some stories could only be told when snow blanketed the earth, sealing sacred truths beneath a layer of stillness. Others required offerings of tobacco, cornmeal, or silence before they could be shared. Storytelling was not casual. It was ritual, binding listeners and speakers in a sacred agreement. Through these stories lived the sacred beings: raven, coyote, spider-woman, thunderbird, figures who shaped the world through mischief, creation, and wisdom. These characters taught moral lessons and explained natural phenomena, but they also embodied the mystery and humor of life itself. Trickster figures like Coyote could cause chaos one moment and deliver cosmic truth the next. The power of these stories was their depth, accessible to children, yet layered for the wise. Told over and over, they shifted slightly with each voice, but their heart remained intact. Oral tradition was also the law. Treaties, histories of migration, family lineages, and land boundaries were preserved in memory and ceremony. Some songs carried the sequence of trails. Others recounted battles or alliances. The keeper of these histories was often an elder, a chosen storyteller whose role was akin to that of a librarian or judge. These individuals carried immense responsibility, as forgetting could unravel sacred trust. Accuracy, humility, and timing were essential. Words were not just sounds. They were tools of justice and memory. Tonight, as you drift into sleep, imagine the wind itself whispering stories that have traveled for centuries. Let the rhythm of your breath join the cadence of countless ancestors who spoke around flickering fires. Their voices are not lost. They float in the trees, echo in the hills, and hum in the rivers. Sleep now, beneath a sky that once listened to these tales night after night. You are part of the story still unfolding. The sacred hunt was never merely a pursuit of survival. It was a ceremony, a prayer in motion. For many Native American tribes, hunting was a relationship, not a conquest. The animals were considered relatives, not prey. Before the hunt began, offerings were made of tobacco, song, or spoken gratitude. Hunters fasted or prayed for clarity and humility. They asked for permission to take a life. And when it was granted, the moment was honored with reverence. The hunt, like the harvest, was a form of thanksgiving. Never taken for granted, never approached with arrogance. Among Plains tribes, the buffalo hunt was one of the most sacred acts. The buffalo provided food, shelter, tools, and spiritual guidance. Its bones became needles and tools. Its hide became lodges and clothing. Its sinew, thread. The hunt was coordinated with deep care, often involving entire communities in preparation and ceremony. After a successful hunt, the animal was honored through song and ritual. Every part was used. Nothing was wasted. The buffalo was seen as a great teacher, offering lessons of generosity and endurance. Other tribes developed their own sacred hunting traditions. The Ojibwe hunted moose in the North Woods, moving silently in canoes through misty lakes. The Apache became master trackers in desert terrain, reading subtle signs like a single broken twig or a faint print in sand. In the Northwest, salmon were not fished casually. They were welcomed back each year in ceremonies, greeted like returning elders. No matter the region or the prey, the guiding principle remained the same: respect, gratitude, and balance. The hunter was not above the animal, but a participant in an eternal dance. After the hunt came the rituals of offering and preparation. Hunters returned to camp not as victors, but as stewards. The first piece of meat was often given to elders, to children, or to the fire itself. Songs were sung. Feathers and bones were arranged in quiet reverence. Sometimes, a ceremony of release would follow, thanking the spirit of the animal and guiding it on its journey. This practice ensured that the spiritual balance remained intact, that no taking went unanswered by giving. To hunt was to give one's care and conscience as much as one's skill. As you lay still beneath your blankets tonight, think of the sacred hunt not as an act of violence, but as an act of connection. Each breath you take is part of a larger cycle of giving and receiving. Somewhere, the wind carries a memory of footsteps soft upon the earth, of whispered prayers offered to the sky. Sleep with gratitude in your heart. The animals, the land, the ancestors, they walk with you still. Dancing with spirits was more than movement. It was communication with the unseen. In Native American tradition, dance was a living prayer, a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds. Every step, beat, and gesture held meaning. Ceremonial dances were performed to ask for rain, to celebrate harvests, to heal the sick, or to honor the dead. They were communal acts of reverence, aligning the people with the forces of nature and the will of the Creator. To dance was to open a channel, to speak to ancestors, to feel the heartbeat of the earth beneath one's feet. Each tribe had its own sacred dances, passed down for generations. The Lakota performed the sun dance, a rite of renewal involving fasting, piercing, and sacrifice, a prayer for community's well-being. The Hopi dance for rain. They're Kachina dancers donning intricate masks to invite ancestral spirits to bless the land. The ghost dance, born in the late 1800s, was a spiritual uprising against cultural erasure, a vision of rebirth and reunion. Every dance was an act of resistance and resilience, as well as devotion. Movements told stories when words could not. Music accompanied these dances like breath follows heartbeat. Drums were sacred. They mimicked the pulse of life. Flutes called to distant spirits, and rattles woke energies sleeping in the soil. Songs were learned not from paper, but from listening, repetition, and vision. Some melodies were passed down through families. Others were received in dreams. Singers were not performers but vessels, letting the voices of ancestors speak again through chant. The power of the song was not in its volume, but in its intention. Each note was a thread in the web of the ceremony. These dances and songs brought healing. When someone was ill, not just in body, but in spirit or heart, the community gathered in dance. The drum's rhythm aligned the soul. The movement broke stagnation. The shared energy restored what was lost. Healing ceremonies might involve smudging, chanting, touching the earth, or walking in circles to release pain. It wasn't the medicine alone, but the collective prayer that mended the invisible wounds. Dance was the medicine, and the people were the curer. Tonight, let your breath fall into rhythm like the beat of a distant drum. Let your heart dance gently with the stories of the old songs. Even now, the spirits listen. Even now, the wind carries sacred rhythms across the land. You may not hear the chant, but you feel it. In the stillness, in the warmth beneath your blanket, in the quiet joy of simply being. Close your eyes and let the ancestors lead you in a dance of dreams. The keepers of wisdom were not warriors or rulers, but elders, healers, and spiritual guides who walked the long path of life. Among Native American communities, these individuals were entrusted with knowledge gathered over generations, knowledge of herbs and ceremonies, of weather patterns and animal migrations, of dreams, balance, and the unseen. Elders were libraries made of breath and bone. Their words carried weight not because of status, but because they were forged through experience. They had listened more than they spoke, and when they did speak, the community listened with reverence. Medicine people, often called shamans or healers, were more than doctors. They were mediators between worlds. Using songs, smudging, sacred plants, and dreams, they sought harmony between the body, the mind, the spirit, and the land. Illness was rarely seen as isolated. It was a sign of imbalance, a message from the unseen world. The healer's task was not simply to cure, but to listen, to interpret, and to help restore the sacred circle of life. Their knowledge came not from books, but from visions, apprenticeships, and decades of quiet observation. Plants were powerful allies. From willow bark for pain to sweetgrass for purification, the forest, field, and desert offered an entire pharmacy of healing. But these remedies were never taken lightly. Plants were gathered with prayer, with offerings left in return. Each plant had a spirit, and taking it required permission. The process of making medicine was slow, intentional, sacred. Often, medicine bundles were passed down through families, each item inside holding stories and protection. Healing was not an act of control over nature, it was cooperation with it. Elders also taught by simply being. They watched with kind eyes, corrected gently, and reminded younger generations of their responsibilities to each other and the earth. They told the old stories, offered perspective in times of grief, and held the community's emotional memory. To sit beside an elder was to sit in a sacred circle. Their presence was steadying, like a mountain or a deep-rooted tree. When they passed, ceremonies were held not only to mourn but to honor the wisdom they carried. Wisdom that had, if the people listened well, become a part of community's soul. Tonight, let yourself be guided by these keepers of wisdom. Imagine their hands, callous, warm, patient, resting gently on your shoulder. Let their voices carry you to sleep, filled not with fear, but with knowing. The world is not empty of guidance. It lives in the quiet words of those who walked far and returned to tell you. All things are connected, and nothing is ever truly lost. Water is life. For Native American cultures across the continent, water is more than a necessity. It is sacred. Rivers, lakes, springs, and rain are not just resources but living entities, spirit-filled and deserving of reverence. Water songs are sung before drinking. Offerings are made at springs. Ceremonies are held when rain returns after a long drought. In many languages, the word for water also means life. To pollute or disrespect water is to disrupt the balance of the world. It nourishes, heals, carries stories, and connects everything it touches. Water is not owned. It is borrowed. Among the Hopi and Pueblo peoples of the Southwest, rain ceremonies are central to life. In a desert landscape, every drop matters. Catching the dancers don elaborate masks and costumes, becoming messengers to the clouds, asking for water to sustain corn and beans. Their movements imitate the falling rain, their songs echoing thunder. These aren't mere performances. They are spiritual negotiations. When rain finally comes, it is not a coincidence. It is a response. Gratitude flows through the people like the water itself, soaking the land and the soul. To the Anishinaabe, women are considered the traditional water protectors. In their teachings, women carry the water of life, both physically and spiritually. Grandmother Moon watches over water, and ceremonies led by women honor this connection. In recent times, water walks have been organized, multi-day journeys where women walk around lakes or along rivers, singing and praying for the water's healing. They carry copper vessels and eagle feathers, stepping in quiet reverence. These walks are acts of love, resistance, and restoration. They are reminders that the earth still listens. Water connects the worlds, the physical, the ancestral, the spiritual. In many origin stories, life itself emerged from water, or beneath it, or alongside it. Ceremonies of purification often involve immersion or sprinkling of water to cleanse not just the body, but the heart and mind. A newborn is bathed in water and prayer. The departed are sent off with water blessings to guide their spirit's journey. Water is present at life's beginning and end, a thread tying one existence to the next. Its flow is the memory of creation itself. As you fall into rest night, imagine yourself lying near a peaceful stream. The water hums a lullaby, ancient and endless. Let your breath mimic the flow, steady, gentle, cleansing. Let the worries of the day be carried away like leaves on a current. You are water, too, fluid, strong, and sacred. Dream now, with rivers in your veins and stars reflected in your eyes. The land is more than a backdrop to human life. It is a living, breathing relative. In Native American cosmology, the earth is sacred, often regarded as a mother figure who gives and sustains life. Mountains are not just rocks. They are ancestors. Forests are not just timber. They are teachers. Every valley, stream, and hill holds memory and meaning. To walk on the earth is to walk upon stories. Respect for land is woven into every aspect of life. In how food is gathered, how homes are built, and how ceremonies are held. The land doesn't belong to people. People belong to the land. This reverence for place was expressed through the stories tied to sacred sites. A boulder where a spirit once rested. A lake where a child disappeared into another world. A tree struck by lightning and left standing, watched as a sign. These were not myths in the distant past, but living truths, held close by generations. Pilgrimages were made to such places not for conquest, but for connection. Songs were sung, tobacco laid, and silence observed. These locations were not marked on maps, but etched into memory, guarded with humility. Traditional ecological knowledge, gathered through careful observation across centuries, allowed native peoples to live in sustainable harmony with the land. Controlled burns encouraged healthy growth. Migration patterns were followed, not forced. Seeds were saved, and planting techniques rotated to nourish the soil. Even hunting had rules. Never take more than needed, never waste, always give thanks. The earth was not something to be dominated or extracted, but something to be in dialogue with. Every action was a question. Will this decision bring balance or disrupt it? This relationship with the land also informed art, language, and ceremony. Petroglyphs carved into canyon walls reflected sky constellations and river spirits. Basket patterns told stories of mountains and animals. The very grammar of some languages reflects geography, verbs describing wind, snow, or light unique to a region. Songs followed the contour of the hills, and drums mimicked thunder from nearby cliffs. Living with the land meant listening to it constantly, through senses, spirit, and culture. As you prepare for sleep, imagine lying upon soft earth, warm and alive beneath you. Let go of the illusion of separation. The wind touches your skin like a whisper. The soil cradles your weight, like a mother holding a child. You are not lost. You are home, grounded in a sacred place that remembers every step you've taken. Close your eyes and listen to the land dream. The fire, for Native American peoples, is not just warmth or light. It is a living being. Fire represents the heart of the home, the center of community, and the connection between earth and spirit. It is said to carry prayers upward, its smoke spiraling like thoughts toward the heavens. Around fire, families share meals, councils speak, stories are told, and ceremonies begin. Fire is both teacher and guardian. It teaches patience through slow cooking, discipline through control, and unity through its gathering heat. It is never disrespected, never wasted. It is greeted with care and left with gratitude. In many tribes, sacred fires are kept burning continuously during major ceremonies. These flames are watched over with devotion, fed only certain woods, and approached with prayer. The fire becomes a portal between worlds, where ancestors may enter, where spirits may gather, and where visions are received. Fire keepers, often selected from the community's most respectful members, tend the flame day and night. They speak softly to it, sing to it, and sit in meditation. The responsibility is heavy, but it is also an honor. The fire is alive, and in its flickering it speaks. Fire is also transformation. Just as it can warm, it can destroy, but in destruction it often renews. Some tribes practice controlled burns to clear old growth, inviting fresh life to emerge. Others use fire in sweat lodge ceremonies, where heated stones brought into the lodge glow with ancestral energy, cleansing body and spirit. Fire is a cycle: creation, destruction, rebirth. Those who feared it misunderstood its nature. Those who honored it lived in harmony with its dual essence. Like all sacred things, fire must be approached with balance. The hearth fire at home was just as important as the ceremonial flame. Each morning, it was rekindled with gratitude. Around it, meals were cooked, songs were sung, moccasins were stitched, and laughter shared. Even during grief, the fire remained, its glow a reminder of continuity and warmth. When someone passed, coals from their home fire might be carried to a new home, symbolizing both memory and legacy. The fire was not only physical, it was emotional, ancestral, communal. As night surrounds you now, imagine a small flame dancing gently in the dark. Let it warm your spirit. Let its crackles soothe your thoughts. You are safe by this fire. The ancestors sit nearby, sharing their silence with you. The flames do not judge. They simply burn, steadily, like love, like memory, like hope. Sleep now, with fire in your heart and peace at your side. Dreams have always been seen as more than sleep's byproduct. They are sacred messages. For many Native American tribes, dreams are pathways to the spirit world, places where ancestors speak, visions unfold, and truths are revealed. They are not dismissed as fantasies, but honored as guidance. From the Lakota to the Iroquois, dreams have influenced decisions, named children warned of danger or offered healing. Dreamers were often considered visionaries, and some individuals were recognized as dreamwalkers, those who could journey consciously within dreams to gain insight and knowledge of the community. Dream catchers are among the most widely recognized dream-related traditions, originating with the Ojibwe people. Created with a hoop, sinew webbing, and adorned with feathers and beads, the dream catcher was hung above a child's sleeping space. It was believed that good dreams passed through the web and floated down the feathers, while bad dreams were trapped in the net and dissolved with the morning sun. Over time, other tribes adopted the practice, each adding their own symbolic interpretations. But at its heart, the dream catcher was a guardian of sleep and soul. Dreams were also sought through vision quests, a sacred rite of passage among many tribes, including the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Blackfeet. A young person, seeking purpose or guidance, would isolate in nature, often fasting and praying for several days. In this state of vulnerability and openness, dreams or visions would arrive, sometimes clear and symbolic, sometimes mysterious. The experience would then be shared with elders or spiritual leaders who helped interpret the dream's meaning. It was a spiritual rebirth, one that marked a transition from youth to wisdom. Not all dreams were personal. Some were meant for the whole tribe. Dreamers might foresee droughts, migrations, or changes in leadership. Others brought songs, healing methods, or ceremonial knowledge not previously known. These dream gifts were treated with immense respect. Communities listened carefully to those who dreamed deeply. In a world guided by interconnection, The dream realm was as real and necessary as the waking world. The night was not a place to disconnect, but to receive. Tonight, let your dreams be sacred. Let them take you beyond the walls of your room, beyond the edge of memory. Close your eyes and step into that ancient current where messages flow like rivers. If you see a mountain, climb it. If you meet an animal, listen. You are not alone in your sleep. The spirit world is gentle tonight, waiting just beyond your breath. Animals were not seen as lower beings in Native American thought. They were equals, teachers, and guides. Each animal carried a spirit, a lesson, a medicine. To encounter a fox, an owl, or a bear was to be spoken about in the natural world. Tribes such as the Lakota, Cherokee, and Zuni understood that animals were not random background creatures. They were sacred messengers. The behavior of animals could signal weather changes, spiritual warnings, or opportunities. Stories passed down through generations told of animals offering wisdom to humans, often in dreams or visions. Totem animals, sometimes referred to as spirit animals, represented the qualities and energies of a particular species that aligned with a person or family. A bear might represent strength and protection, while a butterfly could symbolize transformation. These connections were often discovered through dreams, visions, or rites of passage. Once revealed, they served as guides throughout life. Totem poles carved by Pacific Northwest tribes expressed ancestral lineages and sacred relationships, their intricate forms blending myth, memory, and identity into towering art. The Plains tribes revered the buffalo, not just for sustenance, but for spiritual symbolism. The buffalo embodied abundance, resilience, and sacrifice. Ceremonies were held to honor its spirit, and its appearance in dreams was a powerful omen. The eagle was a sacred bird for many nations, symbolizing divine vision and connection to the Creator. Feathers from eagles were used in prayers, carried in medicine bundles, or offered as tokens of deep respect. Each animal, whether land dweller, sky flyer, or swimmer, held a voice worth listening to. Animals were also central to ceremonies and healing practices. Deer dances were performed to bring agility and endurance. Wolf songs might be sung in times of mourning or courage. Snake dances honored transformation and renewal. A healer might call upon the bear's strength when tending to the wounded, or use coyote stories to teach lessons with humor and humility. These creatures were not symbolic in the distant sense. They were present, participating in the rhythm of life alongside humans, partners in creation and restoration. As you drift toward rest tonight, let the animals of the spirit world walk beside you. Whether it's the quiet hoot of an owl or the soft paw of a mountain lion in your dream, these messengers come in peace. Open your heart to their wisdom. They do not speak in words, but in movement, feeling, and presence. Let your breath join their rhythm. Tonight, you are part of their sacred circle. The power of words was deeply honored in Native American cultures. To speak was not simply convey information. It was to invoke spirit. Words to bless, heal, summon, or even harm. Silence, too, held sacred meaning, often seen as more powerful than careless speech. Among many tribes, storytelling was a primary form of teaching, preserving history, law, and moral guidance. Elders wove tales that carried layers of wisdom, where animals spoke truths, landscapes held memory, and every listener found a mirror of themselves in the narrative. Stories weren't simply told. They were experienced. The rhythm of the voice, the pauses, the inflections, all were part of the ceremony. Many tales had no written form. Memory was a vessel, and storytelling the ritual. Trickster figures like Coyote or Raven taught both humor and humility, while hero journeys revealed values like courage, honesty, and respect. Each telling might differ slightly, shaped by the mood of the night, the needs of the audience, or the spirit of the land. The story was alive, evolving like the wind. Oral tradition was more than entertainment. It was survival. Through stories, people learned when to plant, where to hunt, how to treat illness, and how to stay safe. Stories encoded maps, seasons, and social codes. For example, tales of disrespect toward nature ending in tragedy served as warnings. Others conveyed celestial knowledge, how the stars moved, when eclipses came, how to read the moon. Some stories were sacred and only told at specific times of year or in certain rituals. Listeners were not just spectators. They were inheritors of collective memory. The language itself was a sacred act. Many native languages carry spiritual weight. Verbs for snow change based on energy, and words for wind can describe its personality. Speaking one's language was not only an identity, but a ceremony. Language revitalization movements today seek not only to preserve these tongues, but to restore the spiritual worldview embedded within them. Each word is a seed, each phrase a drumbeat. As languages return, so too does the voice of the land. As you fall into sleep, let words carry you. Listen for the whisper of an ancient story moving like wind through trees. Let the silence between those words remind you of something deeper. The stories never truly end. They circle back, reshaping themselves in each heart they visit. Tonight, one visits you. Let it guide you home. Ceremony was a heartbeat of Native American life, a living rhythm that brought people together in reverence, joy, and balance. These sacred gatherings marked seasonal changes, life transitions, healing, and renewal. Each ceremony was a bridge between the physical and spiritual world. It wasn't performance, it was participation. From sunrise dances to moon rituals, every motion, every drumbeat, every chant had purpose. Ceremony was not limited to the religious. It was everyday prayer made visible, the breath of tradition moving through the body of a people. One of the most profound ceremonies practiced by Plains tribes is the sun dance, a multi-day rite of sacrifice, endurance, and spiritual communion. Dancers fast and pray, often piercing their skin as a symbol of offering to Creator and the community. It is not an act of pain for pain's sake, but of deep humility and connection. The sun dance honors the circle of life, the suffering of ancestors, and the promise of future generations. The tree at the center is not just wood. It is the axis between worlds. Other ceremonies focus on healing, such as the Navajo Night Chant, a 9-day ritual combining sand painting, music, and chant to restore harmony in the individual and community. The Apache Girls' coming-of-age ceremony celebrated a young woman's transformation into womanhood with dancing, sacred dress, and ancestral blessings. These events weren't isolated from everyday life. They were deeply embedded within it. Birth, death, illness, harvest, all had ceremony. Ceremony made meaning out of mystery, order from chaos, and peace out of pain. Music and movement were integral to ceremony. Drums echoed the heartbeat of the earth. Rattles awakened the spirit world. Songs, some unchanged for centuries, were sung in the original languages, each note carrying memory, each rhythm binding generations. Dances could mimic animals, celestial patterns, or the journey of the soul. There was no separation between sacred and art, between song and prayer. When people danced, they danced the stories of their people and the language of the stars. As you rest, feel ceremony rising around you, soft songs in a language you once knew, the smell of sage, the warmth of community. You are not an outsider to this sacred rhythm. You are part of it. Your breath is a chant. Your heartbeat is a drum. Close your eyes now and step into the circle, where ancestors wait with open arms, and the fire never goes out. Medicine in Native American traditions goes far beyond pills and procedures. It is not just about treating illness. It is about restoring balance between body, spirit, mind, and the natural world. Medicine can be a song, a memory, a river, a prayer, or a sacred stone. Each person carries their own medicine, unique to their spirit and path. Healers, often called medicine people or shamans, learn through years of dreams, visions, and teaching from elders. They are not miracle workers, but caretakers of balance between world, between people, and within the self. Herbal medicine plays a central role in many healing practices. Plants are gathered with prayer, never over-harvested, and often given offerings before being picked. Sage, sweetgrass, cedar, and tobacco, known as the 4 sacred medicines, are used for cleansing and spiritual protection. Other plants like yarrow, bare root, or wild mint are used for fever, pain, and respiratory issues. Knowledge of these medicines is passed through generations, sometimes through dreams. The plants are seen as beings with their own spirit and wisdom, not simply ingredients. Healing ceremonies often include prayer, smoke, song, and touch. The sweat lodge, a small dome-shaped structure, is used to purify body and spirit. Heated stones are brought inside and water poured over them to create steam. Participants sit in total darkness, singing and praying as the heat cleanses not just their skin but their emotions and memories. The ceremony is intense but deeply healing, a return to the womb of Mother Earth and a rebirth into new clarity. Every illness is seen as a message, not just a problem. Healing isn't only for individuals, it is for the community. If one person suffers, the whole circle is out of balance. Healing circles, where everyone prays together, are a form of communal medicine, drumming together, dancing together, weeping together. All these acts restore harmony. Even laughter is medicine. Jokes, stories, and playful spirit help move pain to the body and out into the air. Healing, in these traditions, is as much about connection as it is about cure. As you rest tonight, breathe in healing. Imagine a warm light moving through your body, washing away heaviness and sorrow. Let the spirit of cedar wrap around your heart. You are not broken. You are becoming whole again. Let the silence hold you like soft medicine. Let sleep restore your balance, gently, like leaves returning to a quiet forest floor. The circle is one of the most important symbols in Native American belief systems. It represents wholeness, balance, and the cycles of life. From the rising and setting of the sun to the turning of seasons, everything in nature moves in circles. The teepee, the drum, the council fire, the medicine wheel. Each is shaped or arranged in a circle. This is not by accident, but by deep understanding. In the circle, no one stands above another. Everyone belongs. It is a shape of unity and sacred continuity, where beginnings and endings are one and the same. The medicine wheel is a sacred symbol and teaching tool used by tribes such as the Lakota, Ojibwe, and Cree. Divided into 4 quadrants, the wheel represents the 4 directions, the 4 seasons, the 4 elements, and the stages of life: childhood, youth, adulthood, and elderhood. Each direction carries wisdom and energy. East is for new beginnings, south for growth, west for introspection, and north for wisdom. When one walks a medicine wheel in ceremony or reflection, they seek to understand their place within the great turning of life. The circle is also a way of life. Council meetings are held in circles so that no one voice dominates. Conflict resolution happens through circle talk, where each person holds a talking stick and speaks from the heart while others listen. This form of respectful communication promotes understanding and peace. In traditional communities, children are raised not only by parents but by the entire circle of family, elders, and extended kin. Responsibility is shared. No one is isolated. The circle ensures that everyone is seen, heard, and valued. Even ceremonies of mourning follow circular time. Death is not an end but return to spirit. Just as the sun sets to rise again, so too does the soul complete its path and begin anew. Many tribes hold mourning ceremonies in 4-day, 4-month, or 1-year cycles, each marked by prayer, song, and remembrance. Grief is shared communally, honored rather than hidden. The circle of support brings healing, and the cycle of life continues with reverence. As you lay down to rest, picture yourself in a great circle of ancestors and loved ones. They form a ring of light and comfort around you, their presence unbroken. Let the rhythm of the earth move through your breath. You are part of something ancient, sacred, and whole. You are in the circle now, safe, seen, and forever connected. The land is not just a backdrop in Native American life. It is a living relative. Mountains, rivers, deserts, and forests are seen not as property, but as family members. The earth as mother, the sky as father, the wind as grandfather, and the water as grandmother. This relationship is not metaphorical. It is spiritual, emotional, and ancestral. To walk the land is to walk among loved ones. Every step is taken with care. The land holds memory, breathes stories, and listens in silence. You don't own the land. You belong to it. Sacred sites of the continent. Places where spirit and earth meet in concentrated presence. The Black Hills to the Lakota, Bear Butte to the Cheyenne, Mount Shasta to many California tribes. Each of these places is a temple without walls. Pilgrimages are made not to conquer, but to listen. Songs are offered to the stones. Prayers are whispered into the wind, and tobacco or cornmeal is gently given in return. These places are not visited casually. They are alive with energy, protectors of teachings older than memory. Land is also teacher. The way rivers carve canyons teaches patience. The way bison move in herds teaches cooperation. The way fire regenerates forests teaches renewal. Native science was based not on laboratories, but on observation, experience, and relationship. A medicine person might spend years watching the migration of birds to understand timing. A farmer could read soil like a book. These teachings weren't collected. They were received, and they carried with them a responsibility to protect what has been taught. When land is harmed, the people feel it. The scars on mountains, the poisoning of rivers, the vanishing of animals. These are not distant environmental concerns, but wounds to family. This understanding has fueled centuries of resistance and advocacy, from standing against pipelines to protecting ancient forests. Elders say, what you do to the earth, you do to yourself. Healing the land and healing the spirit go hand in hand. It is not just about saving nature. It is about remembering how to live in harmony again. Tonight, let the land cradle you. Imagine lying on soft earth beneath ancient trees, stars twinkling above. Feel the heartbeat of the ground beneath your spine. It remembers you. It carries your story. As you breathe and sleep, you return, not just to rest, but to relationship. The land is still there, waiting, whispering, holding you gently through the night. Time, in Native American worldview, flows differently than in Western thought. It is not linear, not a straight path from past, present to future. Instead, it is circular, woven like a spiral, a never-ending dance of return and renewal. The past is not gone. It is present in the land, the language, the ceremony. The future is not separate. It is shaped by how we walk today. Elders say that every step we take must honor 7 generations before us and consider 7 generations to come. Time is not owned. It is shared. This understanding of time changes everything. It makes patience a virtue, not a delay. It invites listening before acting. It teaches that wisdom is layered over generations, not just invented anew. Time is found in the seed growing slowly, in the rhythm of the drum, in the quiet observation of a hawk circling overhead. Ceremony itself operates on this rhythm. It is not rushed. It unfolds as needed. Even stories are told in the fullness of their shape, with pauses where silence speaks more loudly than words. Some tribes mark time through natural cycles rather than numbered dates. The Lakotas speak of the moon when the calves are red, or the moon of strong cold. The Cree follow the thawing of rivers and blooming of certain flowers to signal movement through the seasons. This is time based on observation, relationship, and presence. A calendar of kinship, not digits. The stars, too, are timekeepers. Constellations return each year like beloved visitors, reminding the people when to plant, when to harvest, when to gather, when to pray. This timeless way of being often clashes with modern expectations. The urgency of clocks, deadlines, and digital noise pulls people away from natural rhythms. Yet many Native communities continue to reclaim time, not just culturally, but spiritually. They slow down. They sit in stillness. They allow time to breathe again. It's not about going backward, but about remembering what time really is, sacred, cyclical, and shared with all life. In doing so, they resist disconnection and return to the deeper pulse of the earth. Now, as you prepare to sleep, feel yourself stepping out of clock time. Let the spiral of sacred time unfold around you. The past walks beside you. The future listens quietly ahead. You are not late, not early. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Let time hold you softly tonight, like a river cradles a canoe, gliding steadily under the stars. In many Native American traditions, dreams are not random or meaningless. They are sacred messages from the spirit world. To dream is to cross a threshold, to visit a place where ancestors speak and visions form. Dreams are bridges between worlds. Some tribes refer to dreams as the walking of the soul. What you see in sleep can reveal a personal path, a warning, a healing, or a gift. The dream world is as real and important as waking life. Perhaps more so, for it is unbound by physical form and guided by spiritual truth. Among many nations, dreams are taken seriously from childhood. Parents listen carefully to what their children dream and help them interpret it with care and respect. Dream sharing circles are held in the morning, where each person offers what they've seen in the night. Elders, trained in symbolism and spiritual meanings, may guide others through their dreams, much like a map maker or navigator. Some dreams are so powerful they're called visions, events that shape destiny, identity, and sometimes even the path of the whole community. Vision quests are a sacred rite of passage in which a person, often a youth, goes into nature alone, fasting and praying for several days in search of vision. It is not a test of endurance for pride, but a spiritual journey to meet one's purpose. In that solitude, dreams come clearer. A person may be visited by an animal, spirit, or ancestral figure. When they return, their dream is shared and interpreted by a spiritual guide. It is a birth of identity through dreaming. Dreams also serve as medicine. A healer might receive the cure to an illness through a dream. A warning of danger may arrive in sleep and save lives. Even loved ones who have passed on return to comfort or advise the living. These dreams are not dismissed as coincidence. They are welcomed, prayed over, and remembered. Dream catchers, originally from the Ojibwe people, are woven hoops with webbing meant to protect the dreamer, allowing good dreams to pass through and trapping the rest until morning light. As you close your eyes tonight, remember your dreams matter. Let them unfold like a sacred ceremony. Listen gently to what the night has to tell you. You are entering a space where spirit walks softly and the veil is thin. May your sleep bring you vision. May your dream carry you to your deeper self, where the stars speak your name. The wisdom of Native American traditions does not belong only to the past. It is living, breathing, and still unfolding. Despite centuries of colonization, displacement, and cultural erasure, indigenous peoples across the Americas have preserved and revitalized their teachings. Language programs are rebirthing ancient speech. Youth are returning to ceremony. Elders are mentoring new generations with care and pride. The songs never stopped. They were just quiet for a while. Now, they rise again like morning mist from the land, ready to guide those who are willing to listen. This resurgence is not nostalgia. It is resistance, survival, and transformation. Native communities are asserting sovereignty, protecting sacred lands, teaching traditional foods, and building cultural centers. Powwows and potlatches, once banned, are now held with pride. Stories that were whispered in secrecy are now being shared in classrooms, on stages, and through digital platforms. This is not the end of the story. It is a new chapter, a generation rising with both memory and innovation in their hands. Non-native people, too, are invited to listen, to learn respectfully, and to support. This is not about taking or imitating, but about honoring, amplifying, and protecting. To walk in solidarity means acknowledging history while helping to shape a better future. The Earth needs this wisdom. In a time of ecological crisis, disconnection, and fragmentation, indigenous knowledge offers pathways back to relationship with land, with each other, and with the sacred. It is ancient, but it is also precisely what the modern world longs for. Remember now, the journey you've taken through the story is not a dream. It is a remembering. Somewhere deep within, these teachings already live. They are not foreign, they are human. They are not distant, they are close. Whether your ancestors were of these lands or came from distant shores, you too are part of the circle now. Walk with care. Speak with intention. Listen to the wind. The voices of the land are timeless, and tonight, they are speaking to you. Now, let sleep take you gently. You walked among stories, felt the drumbeat of earth, and touched the breath of ancestors. You are not alone. You are surrounded by memory, by meaning, by love that spans generations. Rest now, dream deeply, and wake with the quiet wisdom that was always yours. This circle never ends.